Hi everyone, welcome back. We are now on IM1 skill number 5. So today we're going to talk about writing an equation in order to solve a word problem. So we're going to take these word problems, we're going to create an equation that represents whatever the situation is, and then we are going to solve them for some of these using that equation. Okay, let's get started. For the first couple, we're just going to write the equation just to get some practice on that. And then the second two, we are going to actually solve the problem using those equations. The first problem, what I'll do since you guys are watching this video is I will keep zoomed out as I read the problem, but then I'm going to zoom in. So just be careful. Once I zoom in, you won't be able to see the entire problem. Okay, Rick and Morty go to the movies. They each pay the same price for a ticket and share a bucket of popcorn for $6.50. Total, they spend $20 on their trip to the movies. Write an equation that represents the situation. So, before I start anything, I'd like to go through and just highlight anything that jumps out to me as important for writing my equation. The first thing I see is same price for tickets. So that means they each buy a ticket and they're spending the same amount. So I've got 2 tickets, I know. They're sharing a bucket of popcorn for $6.50, so we know we've got an amount $6.50. They spend total $20, so total $20. And I know I'm going to write an equation. So let's zoom in a little and start this out. All right, total. If we think back to if you just watched skill number 4, writing expressions, total tells me that we're adding something together and equaling an amount. So I know I'm going to have something plus something equals something. Okay, I'm going to leave blanks because I'm going to fill those in. The first thing we have that they bought was tickets. Now they each bought a ticket, but it's the same price, so it's 2 of something. So for tickets, we've got 2 tickets. Okay, and then the bucket of popcorn, well, they just bought 1, and we know that's $6.50, but for now I'm just going to write bucket. So tickets plus bucket equals their total. I'm just going to write that in black. Okay, so really just general basic idea of the problem. Let's fill it in with some math now. So 2 tickets. Now, anytime in these problems where I've got something that I don't know the price of or I don't know the amount of, we're going to introduce a variable. We can keep it simple and make it x, but we need to let x equal something. So let x equal, and that's going to be the price of tickets since we don't know that. Price of tickets. Okay, so coming down here where I have tickets, I've got 2, and then whatever the price is, which we said was x. All right, then we're adding. And then the bucket of popcorn, remember, we know just costs $6.50. Okay, and then the total, we know this. It says the total they spent was $20. So now we've got a bunch of numbers. We're almost done. I'm just going to clean this up a little and make it one big equation. So I'm going to just write it in black now. We've got 2x plus $6.50 equals a total of 20. So you'll see now we have an expression that represents their situation. Equation. This equation will tell us what the price of those tickets were if we were to solve for x. We're going to leave it for now. Let's move on. The next one, zoom out so you can read with me if you'd like, says Jess wants to save for a new smartphone that costs $1,000. She already had $500 and wants to save $75 per month. Write an equation to represent how long it will take her to save up for the phone. So essentially, write an equation to figure out how many months. Okay, so let's go through and highlight, and then we'll get started on the equation. First thing I see is $1,000. I also see already had $500 and $75 per month. Those are really the only values we need here. So I'm going to zoom in just a little, and we'll get started on our equation. Okay, let's think about this logically. We've got some initial amount, right? So we're going to start with the initial. So she has something saved up already. We're going to add how much she's able to save per month. So I'm going to write that in green. Saving per month. And then that's going to equal what she's saving for, the goal. So we want to see how many months does she need to save for to get to the goal. All right, let's fill in these amounts. The initial, that's just what she starts with. So that's just a constant number. That's $500. So we just put that into our equation. We're going to add, and then don't forget, if you just watch skill number 4, the word per means multiply. So we're going to have $75 times the number of months. Uh-oh, we don't know what that amount is. So this is another instance where we're going to introduce a variable. So we're going to say let x equal the number of months. We always write this because we want someone reading our work to know what that variable means. So this is 75 times x, and then we're going to equal, and what was our goal? What are we saving for? It's $1,000. Okay, so again, I'm going to clean this up a little, write it as just a standard equation. We've got 500 plus 75x equals 1,000. And we could use this to solve for x and find out how many months it will take Jess to get to $1,000. We're going to leave it here for now. Okay, now we're going to get into a problem where we actually use the equation. So kind of 2 steps here. Let's read what's going on. Ross and Rachel go bowling. Rachel's score is twice the difference of Ross's score and 5. The sum of their score is 320. What are each of their scores? Okay, so lots of stuff I see going on here. Let's first just highlight some good phrases. So I see twice the difference of, and then I see the score and 5, and then I see sum is 320. All right, this one's a little tricky. Let's get into writing our equation. Okay. So the first thing I want to do before I even get into my equation is I need expressions for Rachel and Ross's scores because we don't know what they are. So I'm going to write their names over here, Ross and Rachel. Typically when we have a situation like this where we have 2 people or 2 things, one of the people or things is a variable and then the other is an expression that uses that variable. So in this situation, we've got Ross's and Rachel's. Rachel's score depends on Ross's because it says Rachel's is twice the difference of his and 5. So see how hers relies on his or depends on it? That means Ross is the variable. So he is X. His score is X. Then we have our switch phrase. So again, referring back to skill 4 video, twice the difference of. This is one of our tricky phrases. This is going to look like 2 times, so twice the difference of, so I'm going to have a difference in here, and then it says the difference of Ross's score, remember we said he was X, and 5. Okay, so I know in my equation, when I add their scores up, I need to represent Ross and Rachel. Let's try that out. I'm going to underline them with some color to know exactly who we are talking about. So Rachel will be green. Okay. So right underneath, I'm going to say that Rachel's score plus Ross's score is going to equal their total, their sum. And remember that problem told us what that value is. So again, writing it really basic, and then we'll add in the math. Okay, Rachel is this expression right here. So we're going to write this entire expression right underneath. 2 times x minus 5 plus. Don't forget, we need to also represent Ross, so you still need to write another x for him. A lot of times people leave this one off, but we need both of these here to represent the sum or the total. And then remember the problem told us that the total is 320. Okay, let's clean this up a little, write it as a full equation, and then we are going to solve for x to get going. So I've got 2 times x minus 5 plus x equals 320. So this is our first step. We wrote an equation. Now let's solve for x. This is going back to skill number 2, solving for an equation. Let me zoom in a little. And we're going to solve for x. First is distribute. I've got to distribute this 2. So I've got 2x minus 5 plus x equals 320. Okay, then I'm going to combine like terms. I see 2x and x both have an x in them, so I'm going to combine those. I've now got 3x minus 5 equals 320. I'm going to undo my subtraction first before I do multiplication. So I'm going to add 5 to both sides of the equation. So I've got 3x equals 325. Oops, and I just caught my mistake, guys. Hey, we all make them. So I'm noticing right now I made a mistake with my multiplication. This should be 10, so make sure you go back and fix that with me. 2 times 5 is 10, not 5. So I'm going to write a 10 anywhere that I wrote a 5. So this is 330. Perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to divide both sides by 3. So divide by 3, divide by 3, and that way I can get my final answer of x is 110. Now careful, I'm not quite done yet. X is Ross's score, so I'm halfway done. I'm going to write that next to him. So we found out that equals 110. But I got to find Rachel's. So we're going to do 2 times 110 minus 5. So 2 times 110 minus 5. Okay, and I get Rachel's score is 210. So I've got my 2 answers here. 110 for Ross's score and 210 for Rachel's. That was a great problem to do. I've got one more, and this one even includes a picture. So we're going to draw that together. Our very last problem is about perimeter. Let's read what's going on. It says, a rectangular garden is fenced on all sides with 256 feet of fencing. The garden is 8 feet longer than it is wide. Find the length and the width of the garden. Let's draw it out. When in doubt, draw it out. So I'm going to draw my garden first. I know it's a rectangle. And just so happens I'm using green. How perfect. Okay, so that's my garden. And I know that it's got a length and a width, right? So I'm going to kind of border this. And we know that usually our shorter side is our width, our longer side is our length. Doesn't really matter which one is which. Okay, and I'm also going to write those over here because I know I'm going to be writing some expressions. So width and length. This one is very similar to the problem we just did. Okay, so let's read what's going on in this problem. I have all sides are 256, so I know that's a total. I see 8 feet longer than, and I see wide right there. Okay, so let's write our expressions. Remember, we need to find which value is dependent on the other. So let's start with width. Let's see if this one is our variable. So it says the garden is 8 feet longer than it is wide. That means the length depends on how wide it is. So the width is our variable, and the length depends on that. So that's our other expression. This is going to be 8 longer than whatever the width is. Remember, you add when it says longer than. Okay, so we've got our 2 expressions. Now comes the tricky part of writing our equation. Now you might think we just do this plus this equals the total. But careful, think about what we're talking about. We're talking about perimeter. If I were to add 1 width and 1 length, well, that's only these 2 sides right here. But I need the entire perimeter. So when I make my equation, I need 2 widths, and I need to add 2 lengths. 2 lengths. Remember, perimeter, we want all of the sides. When I do that, that's going to equal the total of 256. Okay, let's plug in our math. So I've got 2 of the width, that's 2x. I'm adding 2 of the lengths, so 2, and then remember the lengths was 8 plus x. That's an expression I want to put in parentheses to make sure I do my order of operations correct. And we equal our total. Pen's running out. All right, so we need to solve for x because we're going to solve this problem now. Let's clean it up real quick before we do that. We've got 2x plus 2 times 8 plus x equals 256. I'm going to box this as our final equation, and we're going to start solving now. I see I have distribution again, so I'm going to do that first right here. So I've got 2x, that's just here, and then I'm going to write what I get when I distribute. 2 times 8 is 16, 2 times x is 2x, and then I still have my 256. My next step, I'm going to combine like terms. I see I have 2x terms. I'm going to combine those. So now I have 4x plus 16 equals 256. And I'm going to undo any addition or subtraction first. So I'm going to subtract 16 from both sides of the equation. Okay, so if I do that, now I have 4x equals 240. And then my last step is to divide both sides of my equation by 4. So I get a final answer of x equals 60. And then don't forget, I'm not quite done. That is my width, so I'm going to come up here and write that answer. I know my width is 60. We were talking about feet, so I'm going to write feet. So that's one answer. And then let me move this paper out of the way. We've got our length that we need to figure out. Well, this one's really simple. It's just 8 longer than the width. If the width is 60, then the length is 68. 68 feet. So now I have my length and my width. And that's how you do those problems. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Hope to see you in the next video.